At the time of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, he once asked Allah Azza wa Jal, he said, "Oh Allah, tell me, who will be my companion in Jannah?" He asked, and Allah said, "A butcher." And he was shocked. He goes, "A butcher? Why will a butcher be my companion in Jannah?" So he asked, "Oh Allah, tell me, where can I find this man?" So then he's instructed that this man is in such and such place. And he goes. Remember, this is the Nabi of Allah. He goes and he sees this man in his butchers, and he's cutting meat. And Musa alayhi salam just looks at him and thinks, okay, what's so special about this man? And at the close of day, this man, he picks some meat up and he takes it with him, and he begins to walk home. And Musa alayhi salam begins to follow this man until he reaches the home of this man. And he says to this man, "Will you not take a traveler as a guest?" And the man says, "Oh, why not? Come in." So he takes Musa alayhi salam into his home. And Musa alayhi salam starts to observe this man. And he sees that this man takes that meat that he has bought from the butchers, and he begins to wash it and cut it. And after cutting it, he cooks it. And after cooking it, he places it on a plate. And from a high shelf in that room, he takes a basket. And he brings the basket down. He takes a damp cloth. And from within the basket, he takes out an old, frail lady. And he puts her in his arms as a baby would put, as a man or a woman would put a baby in their hands and their arms. And he begins to wipe this old, frail lady. And then he takes out the meat that he has cooked, puts it in his mouth in one narration. He chews it, and then puts that into the mouth of this old lady. And every time she finishes, he takes a damp cloth and he wipes and cleans her. And Musa alayhi salam watches this, continuously watches this. And then when he finishes, he cleans her, puts her back in the basket, and puts the basket back up on the high shelf or place that it was originally. And then Musa alayhi salam, he saw two things. He saw that this man was attentive to her, and the fact that every time he would put a morsel in her mouth, she would whisper something. So he asked, he said, "What is this woman to you? What relation do you have to this woman?" And he says, "She's my mother." He says, "I am so poor that I am unable to buy food and other items and bring them home and cook them. So I take whatever meat is left over in my butchers, I bring it home, I cook it. And because she is so old and frail, that I don't have enough money to have a slave or a khadim or a person that can help me, so I do everything myself." And he says, the Musa asks, "Okay, so what is it that she mumbles every time you put that morsel in her mouth?" He says, "She prays for me that, oh Allah, make my son the companion of Musa in Jannah." Subhanallah. And because of the dua of his mother, Allah had accepted it. Musa alayhi shows the power of that, of the dua of the mother.
Ibn Qudama rahmatullah alayhi has made mention of an incident in Kitab al-Tawwabin. Very, very brilliant incident. Very, very brilliant. There was a person by the name of Mahdi who lived the life of sin, vice, evil, womanizing, a very fleshy and flamboyant lifestyle. He would indulge in every crime you would think of. He would perpetrate every offense you've heard of. He gets and is having a night with women and wine, and he omits his Dhuhr prayer, his Asr prayer, his Maghrib prayer, and the sun sets and it gets close to Isha. So his slave girl has a sense of concern. And she says to herself that I've got to do something to open the eyes of my master. So she devises a plan, and she gets a flame, a live coal burning flame, and she comes and she burns the leg of her master. فَانْزَعَجَ. Immediately it gives him a shock, and he stands up. And he said, مَا هَذِهِ? What is this? So she said, جَمْرَةٌ مِّن نَارِ الدُّنْيَا فَكَيْفَ تَصْنَعُ بِنَارِ الْآخِرَةِ. جَمْرَةٌ مِّن نَارِ الدُّنْيَا فَكَيْفَ تَصْنَعُ بِنَارِ الْآخِرَةِ. This is but a flame of this world. Heaven alone knows what would happen to you when the flames of hell are hurled towards you. Verily, hell will hurl sparks towards you the size of palaces. It hit home. He realized the time has come and he has to draw the line and he needs to change his priorities. He then decided to abandon a life of sin and embrace a life of simplicity, motivated by the consciousness of Allah, and he devoted his life. Once two prominent scholars came to visit him, namely Fudayl ibn Iyad and Sufyan ibn Uyayna, who enjoyed the privilege of being referred to as the Muhaddith of the Haram of Mecca, وهو المحدث الحرم المكي. So he came to visit him and he seen the man had downgraded, living a simple life, hand to mouth, breaking even, gave up all the flashy, all the exclusive, all the affluent lifestyle, did away with all the fancy things of life. So Fudayl ibn Iyad and Sufyan ibn Uyayna engaged him and said, listen, إِنَّهُ لَمْ يَدَعْ أَحَدٌ لِلَّهِ شَيْئًا إِلَّا عَوَّذَهُ اللَّهُ خَيْرًا مِنْهُ فَمَا عَوَّذَكَ مِمَّا تَرَكْتَ لَهُ. It has been the system of Allah that whenever anyone forsakes anything for the pleasure of Allah, then Allah always replaces it with something better. You have given up your sinful life. What has Allah given you back? He said, الرضا بما أنا فيه. I lived a sinful, affluent life, but wallah, I was the most miserable, depressed person you've ever met. I've now given up that sinful, affluent life and I've embraced a compliant, simple life, and I'm the most happy person you have ever met in your life.
Let me tell you an incident that took place with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. A man will mention a woman in front of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He speaks about how good she is in her worship. He speaks about how much she prays. He speaks about how much she fasts. He speaks about how much she donates. But then the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ tells him, this woman that you just mentioned right now, she will be punished in the hellfire. Amazing. Ya Rasulullah, we just told you how much this woman prays. We just told you how much this woman fasts. We just told you how much this woman donates. We just told you how much good this woman does. And Nabi ﷺ said, yes, but she will be punished in the hellfire because she was evil and cruel to her neighbors. SubhanAllah. Prayers, fasting, donation, all these good actions, but she was cruel to her neighbors. And being cruel to your neighbor is as evil as any other major sin. And then on the other hand, the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was mentioned to him another woman. She prays normal, she fasts normal, so she does not pray a lot. She prays her prayers, she fasts her fasting. She gives her zakat and she does, average actions. She does, the normal average actions as a Muslim does when it comes to the ibadah. The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, but she's going to the Jannah. Why, O Messenger of Allah? Because she is very good and she is very well mannered to her neighbors. Subhanallah. Do you think of that these days? You find Muslims, Islam to them is about salah, Islam to them is about fasting, Islam to them is about zakat, Islam to them is about reading the Quran Kareem, which no doubt this is Islam, but that's not all Islam. And then when it comes to having the good manners, when it comes to having the good morals, when it comes to having the good ethics, you find Muslims neglecting that. We neglect that. It's like we don't need to be well mannered. It's like we don't need to be well behaved. It's like we don't need to have the best of akhlaq. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praised the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam with the best of his character, and that was his manners. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Indeed and verily Muhammad, you have the best of manners and you have the best of morals. With that, my sisters, the best And the most important thing that we have in our character as living in the West is to have the best of manners. The manners of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that drew people to him and turned his enemies to be his followers, and made those who used to fight him to fight with him, and those who dislike him to like him, and those who turned away from him to turn to him, and those who looked down at him to look up at him sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was his manners, it was his morals, it was his ethics. And we have that responsibility of having the best of manners. We have the responsibility of having the best of ethics. We have the responsibility of having the best of discipline.